Hey everyone, my name is Dylan. I have a bachelor's degree in history focusing on Western Europe and medieval tactics in that period, and also a master's degree in economics with a focus in logistics. And I did quite a bit of studying about the kind of interplay between history and economics. We're going to be reviewing the Like a Dragon Direct 2025 video because I want to see what kind of historical inaccuracies we can find.
Ahoy, Captain! Today we're going to explore some of the finer points.
So, right off the bat, you can see that everyone's using pretty period-specific wear here. He's got the tri-corner hat. They've got the waistcloth. They've got button shirts. Those are a little fancier than they would have had at the time, but overall not bad. The vest, the tattoos, I will say, color tattoos were not very popular until the early 1900s just because of the lack of vibrancy in ink. But, you know, maybe they have access to stuff like that.
A playing pirate in Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. With its brutal buccaneer brawls, one-of-a-kind crew...
Just going to stop here a second. Typically, you don't throw your sword when you're fighting somebody. You try to keep it in your hands. Also, if we go back here just a second, as you can see, he's using two short swords. That was actually fairly common. In the wild, it's very hard to find long pieces of steel, and so you have to use what you got. And a lot of people would get short pieces of steel and turn those into swords instead of trying to find a very long one and hone it down. Which is typically what they did in Japan for things like katanas, because they had very long, thin pieces of steel, and it was very easy for them to kind of mold those into a katana.
With its brutal buccaneer brawls, one-of-a-kind crew building, and exhilarating naval combat.
Going back
brawls,
to this part,
one-of-a-kind
right
crew building, and exhilarating
here, front-facing cannons probably weren't really a thing. They might have one at the very front of the ship, but it would probably shoot grape shot or chain shot to try to get a mast. Generally, I'm okay with stuff like this. Maybe they have some sort of cannon array on the back, back part of their ship. We'll find out later.
Naval combat. Prepare yourself for an over...
That was a very good broadside right there. That was much more accurate.
The top high seas adventure for the modern day privateer, helmed by you, the one-eyed ex-Yakuza, Captain Majima. So hoist.
Eye patches were pretty common for pirates, as we all know. One of the main uses, there were several, and we'll talk about another one later on, I believe. But one of the main uses was that when you go below deck, you can flip it up or switch it over to the other eye. And then you'd have near perfect dark vision compared to the transition from light to dark. And then when you go back above deck, you put it back on.
The sails. We're on the hunt for scurvy dogs and legendary treasure.
They used a lot of R's and a lot of S's.
Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Now, as you can see, this is very common during medieval melees, and we're going to be using a lot of this in contextual Western European combat because a lot of this boat combat seems to be based on that. However, I understand that it's a Japanese-inspired game, so there's going to be some fusion. However, funnily enough, this was actually pretty normal. So in video games, we see a lot of times when people like one-on-one each other. That actually happened in both feudal Japan and in medieval combat when you had nobles. Two nobles would fight each other first, and then they would go through and move to the next opponent after that. In large scrums, battlefields, stuff like this, maybe you'd have the lower class people all fighting together, and then you'd have their leaders generally fighting against each other.
Hawaii's dynamic combat system features two unique fighting styles for a deep variety of devious mix-ups.
Now, that historically accurate. Ballerina dancing was incredibly common back in about the 1800s. And so what they would do is they would learn the moves from things like ballerina dancing, ballroom dancing, things like that, waltzes, things with a lot of spinning, and they would use that in combat to kind of throw their opponent off guard.
Deliver explosive blows, judicious juggles, and gravity-defying air combos
Typically, people can't fly in the air.
that generously reward your creativity. With Mad Dog style, channel Majima's muscle memory to slash and stun.
Now, I will say, things like with these vehicles obviously don't exist in the 17 or 1800s when the boats, the men of war, the caravels existed. However, if you travel into the Bermuda Triangle, sometimes it can teleport you to a different time. And possibly what they're suggesting is that if you take your ship from the 17 or 1800s and go through one of these, you'll end up in Hawaii in modern day.
Mad Dog style, channel Majima's muscle memory to slash and stun scallywags into submission. Deliver precise yet powerful combos with speed, agility.
The auras all look good. Definitely the larger gentleman having a red aura that much looks like pizza sauce, accurate. Majima having a purple aura because he is our protagonist, makes sense.
And flair. Dodge and block to land destructive counters.
Now, this is Hawaii, so it is hot and humid. I don't think we'd see this much denim. However, as a large man myself, you gotta love it.
Then bust out a heat action and send them below decks. Still standing? Hold down an attack to shiver their timbers with crushing charge moves that will have you lightning dashing.
I personally try not to dash through people. When your atoms commingle with other people as you're going through them, sometimes there's unintended consequences, like you come out with their leg and they come out with yours. It's not something you want to do. You generally want to try to use your dash moves when there's empty space between you.
Whirlwind slashing and uppercut mashing. Do that enough, and you'll end up with a full madness gauge. This is good. Unleash it to summon shadowy doppelgangers.
That was a common thing that samurai would do. They could easily split their aura into 5 or 6 different shadows, and then they would help them in battle.
Multiplying your destructive force to take down hordes of enemies in a flash. Once you've mastered Mad Dog style, Sea Dog has you dual-wielding cutlass short swords and buccaneer gear to make shock bait of your enemy.
Now, I will say that that black powder pistol he just had, great. The only problem with it, obviously, it's a single shot. Now, if he would have used that time travel, he could have gotten a Glock or something of that and brought it back with him, but obviously he could not. As you can see here, he has some sort of chain with a hook on the end. That's great. We all love Scorpion. He's also historically accurate. They did use things like this. However, generally, it would be to scale buildings or something like that instead of, getting a large samurai to come close to you.
Bait of your enemy. Engage at range by throwing your cutlasses like razor-sharp boomerangs to slice through crews. Or
obviously, if you need a third sword, the only place you can put it is your mouth. We all know that. We've all seen the shows. It's accurate. Your teeth are very strong. It's the strongest bone in your body. That's, at least external bone in your body. So you want to use your teeth all you can. Dagger, sword, whatever you need to do.
Or use your chain hook to close the gap. Then yo-ho-ho, break out your pistol and blow the man down.
So he seems to have some sort of blunderbuss pistol. Actually, that kind of existed. They would use, basically, to talk about cannons for a second, cannons would have different types of shot. They would have a round cannonball shot. That's what everyone knows. That's about the size of like a shot put, honestly, or half the size of a soccer ball. But they'd also have grape shot, and that's kind of what they would have done in a situation like this. You could have filled your black powder pistol with a very small shot, and it would have effect, but it would be more like a bird shot from a shotgun, where it would pellet you, but it probably wouldn't kill you, or, knock you back 50 feet and set you on fire.
If you feel the tides turning against you, Summon reinforcements with fabled dark instruments and a maxed out madness gauge.
Now, back in the 30s, sadly, all the governments of the world did unite to get all of these weapons and destroy them. So we can no longer do this. This is lost technology. Obviously, some of your Stradivariuses and stuff like that can still do it. However, they can't summon anything nearly this big. That is the inspiration for Donkey Kong. Just leaving that there.
The dogs off the leash, and the steel really starts singing. Mix up fighting styles with lightning fast swap.
Oh, that's swap right there? Let's see that again.
Leash, and the steel really starts singing.
As you can
Mix
see, he
up
can
fighting
switch
styles with lightning.
on the fly. That's the second use for the eye patch. So what you can do is you have one style of fighting with one eye, and then as soon as you flip it over, automatically makes you a different one. I don't know if he's doing that, but that was historically what pirates would do. They'd go from swashbuckling to street fighting by switching the eye.
Fast swaps to execute criminally creative combos and give these clowns a hands-on juggling lesson.
Now, I will say it's a little inaccurate that his weapons disappear. Obviously, he would just throw them on the ground and pick them up later, or with the chain, he could throw that around him and then kind of Kratos his swords onto the back.
And in defiance of rules and gravity, take the fight to the air with Majima's electric jump, a whole new dimension of destruction. Hope you have a frequent flyer program, because you're going to enjoy the air up there.
The miles do expire on those, so make sure you're using them. This gentleman can obviously jump and keep his place in space. Generally, humans can't do that. However, if you do unlock your chakras, you can do just about anything.
We're keeping this sea shanty short, but there be tales of scattered
That guy would have a concussion.
makeshift weapons to find and wield on the fly.
I've never personally hit anybody with a park bench. However, I would think that if you have your aura aligns properly, you could easily pick up a park bench and hit a gentleman into a river, or some sort of spillway, whatever this is, and gold would fly out of him. That's a common occurrence. Everyone knows that. You beat up somebody, gold just goes everywhere.
Of upgrade paths and precious rings that enrich
Those are just cool rings.
your abilities, and plenty more to discover as you master a dual combat system as savagely maniacal as the man once called the patron saint of pain.
I don't believe he's actually a patron saint. Generally, you have to be dead.
The twin fist.
This action, totally inaccurate. Those ropes would be far too long for him to be able to swing like this. He would be much lower. He's also shooting his single shot pistol several times. We all know you can't do that. He might have some sort of magic, powers that allow him to, but sadly, we can't do that.
The twin fists of Mad Dog and Sea Dog. Simple to pick up, deep as the ocean, with a skill ceiling higher.
Now, I believe those gentlemen were just trying to work. I don't know why he was beating them up. However, I will say,
Simple to pick up.
let's see,
Deep
right
as the
here, as you can see, this gentleman directly behind him does have a hard hat on, which is good safety. And the two on the right have masks, which is good PP, personal protective equipment. And as you can see, the tiger, it just wants some scritches. It doesn't want to fight. It wants the large gentleman to bend over and pet him. That's all.
the ocean, with a skill ceiling higher than a crow's nest.
Okay. Unironic comment. That's a really nice looking ship. They did a very good job with the masts and the rigging. The rigging's a little less complex than it would have actually been. You can see along the side here, this part right here is where all the cannon windows would be. It's not bad. A sail like this would have cost actual, like, gold, like a lot of it. You'd have to have either a custom painter, somebody who does like calligraphy on a large scale, or somebody sew you one, which would take a huge amount of time and effort.
Batten down the hatches.
The ship that he's coming up against, when he broadsides it right there, if you see, this might be a merchant ship. It's got a flag on it, or it's got a black sail, which is generally a bad sign, but it is very low in the water. Merchant ships, when they're laden with stuff, they actually sit much lower in the water.
Batten down the hatches and get your ship together, Captain. It's about
Generally, you would only bronze plate. You would not gold plate your cannons.
time you got your sea legs. First, feast your eyes on the Goro.
It's actually a really good looking ship. Like, unironically, the scrap metal really, this part right here doesn't inspire the most confidence. I generally would have just used some pitch on that. Obviously, it's working for him.
Maru, your trusty pirate ship. She's yours to customize, from hull and armor.
I don't like to put neon lights on the sides of my
She's yours
ships.
to customize.
When I
from
have
hull
my personal
and
ships,
armor.
I like to keep any sort of flame or electricity off of it. I think it makes it more elegant. Also, the amount of money it would cost to have red sails, unless you're going to dye them yourself, which, I mean, I guess you could use blood, but it's going to come out like a really dark burgundy. Not going to be the best.
To sail
Whatever.
and figurehead. Strike fear and
A figurehead that large and that gold would weigh just tons, but that aside, they would probably use wood.
confusion
I have no comment.
into the hearts of marauders roaming the sea.
Okay, so we were talking about this earlier. That's fictitious. There's no way that you wouldn't have to have some sort of array of cannons. I mean, he's shooting more than one. You can only shoot one time, once at a time out of a cannon.
Seas. Once you've decked your deck,
I do like that they have
hearts of
the
marauders
tactical
roaming
mode
the
here.
seas.
If you see that red line,
once you
during naval battles, they would have to actively dodge those. It was seen as unchivalrous and without honor to not broadcast your attack before you do it.
decked your deck, you're gonna need a crew.
So as you can see, he's broadsiding both, somehow also to the forward. That generally wouldn't happen, but we don't know the current classification of his ship.
Luckily, it's a cap.
The crews were very varied. You never quite knew who was going to sign up. Generally, pineapple tree people didn't. They usually stayed on their islands.
Captain's Market. Over 100 salty dogs are just waiting to sail under Majima's Jolly Roger. Train your Goro pirates into a ship-shaped wrecking.
Exercise is incredibly important. So let's look at this crew here. So as you can see, we got Pineapple Coconut Man. He's probably not going to be the best crewmate. He's going to be very hot. It seems to be a costume if you look at the back of his legs. It seems to be a costume, so he's going to be very hot all the time. It's very humid. There's going to be a lot of sweating, probably chafing. They didn't have a lot of chalk back then. We have the gentleman in the very back with the purple sweatsuit. Love it. Keep it. He's got a bandana and everything. We have the large gentleman here in the back on the right. He's actually doing pretty good. He's got regular clothes and stuff on. And then we have this young lady up here. She's using short shorts and heels. Probably not the best idea. Little known fact, on wooden sailing ships, there can be gaps between the planks, and her heel could get stuck in there and break the heel off.
Crew by deepening your bonds through song, drink.
This looks great. The robot's a little out of place. I wouldn't put them until about 1875 would have been about the first appearance of them. But everyone else looks pretty good. The child is a little concerning, but you do have small things you have to get your hands in there, and kids have really good hands for that. And then obviously you have the tiger. It just sits there.
Adventure and victory. Yes, this game is canon, and you're
That was a good pun.
going to need a lot of them. I'm your
So that was actually a pretty good volley. And as you can see on the right here, This ship has one cannon in the front that looks to be shooting some sort of harpoon. That actually might have actually happened in history, but generally it would be some sort of like Gatling gun. If it was in the late 1800s, it'd be Gatling gun. If it was early 1800s, it would have been a pivot cannon, very small cannon that's mainly used to pick people off or do some sort of like warning shot while you're following someone.
Yourself to the teeth to take on the scurviest scoundrels this side of the Pacific and scuttle them before they plunder you.
Ooh. That's a brutal salvo right there.
You'll find plenty of firepower to affix stern.
Hold on.
You'll find,
like we said, you would not gold plate them. It'd be too heavy. You'd use brass.
plenty of firepower.
These are bronze. That's actually good. These would have been very heavy. And they would have to have some sort of anchor on the bottom under the wheels. They would have some sort of blocking to keep them from moving backwards, because there's a lot of force involved whenever you fire a cannon. Not just that, but like in general on a ship, you want to have something. You might even take the wheels off because you're not going to be moving the cannon a lot.
Power to affix stern.
Hold on, I gotta go back to that Gauss cannon.
You'll find plenty of firepower to
These are totally standard. You don't see them too much anymore. Ever since Atlantis sank, we lost a lot of this technology. I do still see the wheels. They shouldn't be having wheels on these things. They have a lot of backfire on these railguns. They need to not have wheels.
affix stern, aft, starboard, and
These all look good.
And what's a rocket launcher but a modern-day blunderbuss?
That is a very accurate statement. As you can see, him shooting his rocket launcher at that ship has covered it in ice, probably because he's using some sort of Freon grenade or something. This is all accurate. It would sink, although ice does float, so I'm not a physicist.
Test the waters with a shipload of loadouts and upgrade your arsenal to visit utter destruction upon your foe's collective broadsides.
Ooh.
Any captain
It is
worth their
impressive.
salt
I just
knows
don't
to
know how they're
assign
pulling
crew
it off.
hands strategically.
Now, I think we're coming back to that Bermuda Triangle situation earlier. The Sheep Man, well-known historical figure. However, he disappeared in 1712. And I think what happened was he must have met up with Majima, joined his crew, and thus disappeared from regular history.
To max out their ship's attack and defense before raising the black flag. With dread rivals and fearsome creatures roaming
Oh, Lord.
the seas, it's all hands on deck. The open ocean isn't known.
Now, if you look right next to me, so like right here, you can see that they have some sort of afterburner system on their ship. Those didn't generally come about until ironclads, because ironclads were very slow, and that was near the end of the American Civil War. In this part, I'm saying it's probably about somewhere between 1750 and 1825. They wouldn't generally have those. What they would instead do is use more sails.
For its hiding spots. And before long, you'll find yourself in the crosshairs. Take the helm as exhilarating, real-time naval battles ensue.
You generally did have to steer your ship.
Quickly maneuver into firing position while avoiding enemy bombardments. Then deliver devastating damage with a volley of cannonballs.
See, in that instance, we did not telegraph our attack, but they did theirs, and it severely disadvantaged them. We have been unchivalrous in this situation.
Maelstrom of bullets. Laser blast.
Those lasers look great. Generally, they wouldn't be pink. He might be using some sort of colored lens. In this situation, I think he's just trying to match his motif. Generally, they would be either green or red, depending on what kind of crystals he's using to fire them. He could have found some sort of amethyst lens in the Bermuda Triangle that allows him to use a pink/purple laser. It just generally wouldn't be as powerful as one made with a flawless ruby or a flawless emerald.
Or wall of flame.
Greek fire was awesome.
You might even take your hands off the wheel.
Generally not a good idea. He's actively in combat. Somebody has to be controlling the ship.
To add a more personal touch to the pursuit.
Gatling guns have been around a long time. That's not a Gatling gun, sadly. That's a machine gun. It's historically inaccurate. Those didn't really come around until about World War II.
Proceedings. Captain's discretion. Just keep an eye on the health of your crew.
The ship's on fire. Generally not good. Not only that, ships are made of wood, and we airtight them with pitch and tar, which is flammable. So he probably needs to get some water in this situation, maybe look for a rain cloud. Maybe just, if he just did a barrel roll, that would put all the fires out.
Crew and ship, or you'll be swimming with the fishes.
You don't want to be swimming with the fishes.
Deal enough damage to the enemy ship.
Yeah.
For a guaranteed depth sentence. Or set a collision course.
You can indeed run your ship into other ships. They would actually reinforce the front of the ship. That's why it all meets in a point. So you could ram. You would try to do it with the front of your ship and not the side, because that's where all your delicate stuff is.
Do the boarding command to take down the captain face to face in all out crew versus crew deck battles.
Now let's look at this picture. This is lovely. As you can see, we've got Majima here. He's just jumping across. Obviously, easily done. The ships do have like a little bit of tapering at the top, so you would be quite a bit like, it would be like an 8-foot jump probably if they were right next to each other. But as you can see from here, we've got a gentleman using proper PPE. We have a person with way too many shoelaces. These aren't historically accurate. These would have to terminate on some sort of mast like this. They can't just disappear into the clouds. The only thing I'm seeing here that really troubles me is this gentleman. We all know that when Atlantis sank, there were no more chicken people. Common fact. So him being there is a little bit of historical inaccuracy. I might, offer that as a suggestion. Maybe change that to a lizard person. Those are much more common.
A pirate's life isn't just about sending your foes to the briny deep, but it is a highlight. Once you've got a few notches on the gangplank, set a course for further adventure.
That was actually a good example of him putting out a fire on a ship.
The gangplank, set a course for further
him using a
adventure.
very nice little hose there. Drinking while driving is bad generally. There's a lot less to hit in the ocean. Okay, so it looks like we're going on to like a Caribbean island of some sort.
Rich Island, a remote fishing village where you wash ashore with no memory or much else to your name. Local island boy Noah Rich.
Now I want to point out
or
something
much
here.
Else to your name.
Obviously, Rich Island is in the Bermuda Triangle. Here's my facts. It seems to be set in about the 1800s. However, he has a Coleman flask right there, Coleman thermos. Those didn't come out until like the 80s. So I'm thinking maybe it fell through. Generally, when planes fly across it, stuff can fall and then get sucked into the Bermuda Triangle. He's probably gotten it from there.
Local island boy Noah Rich, feline friend Goro, and family take you in and become the first allies of your pirate adventure. Thanks to them, Rich Island is the place to rest up, restock supplies, reorganize your wardrobe,
Cats can't wear hats.
and rehabilitate any animal friends interested in the pirate life.
Generally, you don't feed your cow
And rehabilitate
dog food.
any animal friends.
As you can see on the right here, he's going to feed
interested
a
in the
dog and
pirate
cat
life.
food. You shouldn't do that.
But the real action can be found on Madlantis.
It looks like what they did, this is just a guess. What I'm guessing is they took Atlantis. It sank, obviously, in the mid-1600s, and we lost a bunch of technology. They probably have taken that and kind of used buoys to bring it back up and turn it into some sort of pirate paradise.
Secret criminal hideout, born from a ship graveyard and ruled by ruthless pirate lords.
I'm pretty sure I've seen her before. I think she was in Resident Evil.
Set a course to find a cavernous pleasure district bustling with activities, and the infamous Pirates Coliseum, where you can put your skill to the test in a spectacle of piratical combat.
Funny story. The Coliseum in Rome actually was floodable. They had an aqueduct that led to it. You could take out a lot of the staging area, and it would be very deep. It wasn't deep enough for like a galleon or a caravel to go in, but it could have some sort of like Romanesque rowing ship that they could have a sea battle on. So obviously this is just a larger version of that.
Will it be fame and fortune?
Now, on the right over here, right here, this woman is fighting with a tennis racket. That's generally a no-no. You want to have equalized weapons. So, like the gentleman flying over here has claws. Majima has swords. The dude with the pompadour is obviously a kung fu master, so he doesn't need a weapon, but she does need some sort of weapon.
Or a watery grave. Rise through the ranks of 4 battle types, all offering unique challenges that ramp up the risk.
So that was actually a really
All
good
offering
showing
unique
of a
challenges
ram right there.
That ramp
That
up the risk.
actually would be
And
a
the
tactic you
reward.
could use.
Once you've sent enough souls to the locker, head over to Nele Island, a holy site overrun with nuclear waste.
Okay, so generally in the 1800s, there wasn't a lot of nuclear waste. Obviously, there were some, of course. What I believe is happening here is this is where we are time traveling. Okay, we are leaving the 1800s. We're going to the present, our present, through some sort of portal.
As a result of unchecked greed, ex-Yakuza, looking for a new start, have flocked here to aid believers in the cleanup. But not all is as it seems. Could this cursed land be the key to Majima's missing memories?
I bet it is.
Or something else altogether?
You never trust somebody wearing a robe like that.
And finally,
See, I told you.
you can't island hop without stopping by the biggest chain in the game.
So obviously this would be the place where you time travel to.
Set a course for Hawaii.
Hawaii being a mythical place that used to exist. However, due to a series of hurricanes and dynamite explosions, it all sank when Atlantis did.
To take in all the sights, sounds, and activities that await a pirate of leisure such as yourself. Just be sure to dress
Okay.
up before heading down.
Now, as we all know, we've all been to karaoke before. It's very popular, especially in Japan, which I'm guessing is where they're importing it from. Before they sank, the islands of Hawaii were actually fairly heavily influenced by the Japanese culture because of the fact that it's like a way station between the continental United States and Japan, especially after World War II. And sadly, now that the islands are gone, a lot of this is lost. So most of this is conjecture. He wouldn't know how to drive a go-kart. He's from the 1800s. Those would be good graphics for the time. I will say, a lot of this is actually possible. If he's bringing money from him, or monetary wealth from the 1800s to present, as long as he had some gold, he can do whatever he wants. He's going to be a fucking millionaire.
Whether you're surfing
You're not supposed to stab people.
the streets, slinging around town, or setting some landlubbers straight with your fists, paradise has so much to offer.
Generally, you don't kick people that hard.
So take your time and soak it all in. There's much more.
Now, I do believe historically, everything's been pretty good so far. He does need another set of clothes. Clothes wear out fairly fast, but they were expensive back in the day. He does seem to be doing pretty well, so maybe another coat or two, and some more pants.
To explore on the open seas of Like a Dragon, pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, all waiting to be discovered. But beware, the sea can be unforgiving, and its occupants...
As you can see, he's such a good swordsman. He can deflect Mach 10 bullets. Common. You see it a lot in China. He must sort of move his chakras around.
deadly. The more you explore, the more you conquer, the more you unlock.
I am hoping they talk about sea monsters.
Rough seas are ahead, but with great victory comes great reward.
He's very excited to open that chest. They booty references the treasure.
Pre-order any digital or physical edition to get the Ichiban Kasuga Pirate Crew and Special Outfit set, which adds the hero of Yokohama, Ichiban Kasuga, and his pet crawfish, Nancy, to your crew.
His suit is both somehow accurate and inaccurate at the same time. I love it.
And 2 of Ichiban's iconic outfits to your wardrobe. Coffers feeling full? Upgrade to the Digital Deluxe Edition to get additional ship customization items, legendary crew members, outfits, and extra music.
Now, historically, back in Western Europe, what they would do is they would give you a product, and you would get 100% of the product up front. And then later, if you needed more of a product, you would go back and buy another whole unit of that product. What we do today now is we sell about 70% of the product, and then you later have to pay more to receive the extra 30%.
And if you want all the booty on offer, pick up the limited collector's edition, including real-world loot, a triple-layered pirate flag, Captain Majima acrylic standee, replica eye patch.
I don't think that's going to make you fight the way he fights.
Metal treasure coin pin, and all the digital deluxe content. Finally, subscribe to Sega emails now through February 25th to receive Kazuma Kiryu's iconic Dragon of Dojima outfit for Majima to use in-game.
As you can see, he's got that tiger well trained. It's following him. It's not really doing anything. Generally in the United States, where he is technically, Hawaii is technically part of the United States, we aren't allowed to have tigers. He must have some sort of permit.
We hope you enjoyed this saltwater dive into the upcoming Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, setting sail February 21st. Oh, and one last thing. We're excited to announce that New Game Plus will be made available for free as a post-release patch.
It's kind of sad that they had to say that. I just want to point that out. The whole Like a Dragon thing was kind of sad.
Stay tuned for updates on exact release timing and content. And prepare to conquer the seas.
So in all seriousness, obviously this was a satire. I am loving this. I haven't played a lot of Yakuza games. I'm going to be looking forward to playing it. I'm going to be playing it on stream probably. I am going to be... I grew up on games like Sea Dogs and, Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff. If there's nautical trade, I would love it. It doesn't seem like the kind of game that will really have it. It doesn't seem... They've obviously done a very good job making things look historical. The ships look actually really good. Once you peel back the veneer of all the goofy customization you can do, the ships look really good. The cannons that are cannons look really good. The sword fighting looks obviously grandiose, but the weapons they're using are fairly accurate, especially when you're fusing kind of a Western European and Asian influence. Overall, I'm pretty excited for it. I hope you enjoyed this little, stupid little skit thing I was doing. If you'd like to, you're always welcome to join me on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 9 p.m. Central for some streaming. Currently, we're playing a very modded version of Skyrim, and it's a lot of fun. So thank you for watching. I'd appreciate it if you'd like it, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Dylan out.